Here's something to ponder. Bias in the media. Now more than ever, people are turning into news shows, therefore television, to get their media. Or they're reading the media right on their smartphone or any devices, iPads, Blackberries, anything that they have. You're reading on your way to work while you're taking the train. Some people shouldn't be, but they're reading in their cars on their way to work. The problem is bias in the media. Understandably, everyone is biased. It is impossible not to have a bias. The key is to limit your bias. Let's talk about news shows such as, or networks such as MSNBC, Fox News, or newspapers such as the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. Most people who follow politics at least once in a while understand that Fox News and the Wall Street Journal are Republican or conservative, and that the New York Times and MSNBC are Democratic or liberal. And I think that when people watch these networks, they understand going in that they're going to hear the liberal or conservative perspective. The problem is confirmation bias, and that's a term that means, generally speaking, this is out of the dictionary, not out of the dictionary, outside of the dictionary, you only hear what you already believe, and you tune out things that you don't agree with. And so a liberal will watch MSNBC, and it only reinforces things that you already believe. You tune out anything that doesn't agree with what you believe. And the same is true for conservatives in Fox News. The problem these days is that if someone is, say, a liberal, and they only want to follow liberal news outlets, they can. They only have to read the New York Times. They only have to watch MSNBC. They only have to, listen to Mother Jones, so on and so forth. You can completely surround yourself in only liberal media if you want to. Same thing for conservatives, and that's bad. That's really bad. That's one of the reasons that, politically speaking, we're in the predicament that America is in today. Liberals only talk about, listen to, and associate with other liberals. Conservatives only listen to, talk about, and associate with other conservatives. My challenge to everyone is, if you're a conservative, I challenge you to listen or watch MSNBC once a week, read the New York Times once a week. If you're a liberal, I challenge you to watch Fox News once a week and to read the Wall Street Journal once a week. What this does is it forces people to be more open-minded. It forces people to understand what the other side is saying, and it forces people to associate with people that are not like themselves. That's one step that I think can undo this political discourse where we're constantly beating each other up, and quite frankly, people do not understand what the other side is saying. They're not even listening to what the other side is saying because they don't have to. Now, let's talk about how things have changed over the years. In the olden days, in our grandparents' and great-grandparents' generation, there was still bias. There was not as much open bias as there is today, but there were only 2 or 3 radio stations that had news that you could listen to, or 3 or 4 television stations with news that you can listen to. And so everybody had to listen to the same thing. Everybody was basing their arguments and their opinions on the same facts from the same news sources. Now there are so many news sources that people could easily make up facts and quote them from some obscure news source that most people have never heard of. And so that's a problem. It's a huge problem. And so I challenge you to look at other news sources and to look for the bias. If you believe that a source is biased, look for a different source. I say the best thing is to watch Fox News, MSNBC, and assume that the truth is somewhere in the middle. Because one is very conservative and the other is very liberal. Don't just take one news outlet's word for it. Do a math equation. Watch the conservatives, watch the liberals, add and divide by the amount of stations that you watched or listened to, and there's your average. So there's something to ponder.